Geordie Journo's back at the Newcastle United Media Centre, keeping up our run of sitting in Eddie Howe's seat.
Sitting in Eddie Howe's seat,
So we'll wait until he tells us off. But yeah, we've been speaking to Eddie Howe this morning. It was actually quite a quiet press conference. I mean, must be around Christmas time. A bit on transfers, a bit on the Carabao Cup, and looking ahead to Ipswich as well. Where would you like to start, Mr. Jordan Cronin?
Where would I like to start? I think we always like to start with injury news on this channel, but there is no injury news. I think just team news in general. So,
hey, Joe
Linton, yeah. I mean, obviously suspended this weekend. Eddie said it was actually probably a good thing that he didn't have to play this weekend because it gives him time to recover. Stitches, had a cut lip.
Well, a cut bloody lip and a cut down his, I think it was right.
So he was right in the war zone on Wednesday, but yeah, a good opportunity to rest him, if you like, and let him heal let his wounds heal. So
battle scars. Yeah,
but obviously it disrupts that midfield three, which is, we knew this anyway, but yeah, I think that's probably the tough call that Eddie has to make this weekend, is who comes in that midfield for. I mean, I say a tough course, but I would probably predict Joe Willock, to be honest,
on that
on the left hand side. But I mean, that midfield three, Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton have been really solid in the fans. As I spoke on midweek, it feels like they found a balance there. So to break that up is a blow. And I think that would probably be the only change reading in between the lines. I think he spoke about rotation, but says that's always sort of dictated by results. And I think there's a good feeling around the team that they've played over the last couple of games. And I think he'll probably stick with that for a lot of reasons, just because it feels like they're building momentum. So starting with the team, I think it'll be one change that'll be forced.
Yes, Joe Linton out, but Eddie Howe did hint should be back hopefully for Aston Villa on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
Said he'd be okay for next week, which is a boost. So yeah, Ipswich Town, tough test of course. They haven't won at home at Portman Road all year or all season, so typical Newcastle fashion. Eddie Howe was put, something we've said, it was put to Eddie Howe. It has a bit of a feel of Luton about it, where Luton were, I mean, playing relatively well to a point, just not quite getting the results and things like that. And a newly promoted side, and Ipswich's season has sort of mirrored that somewhat. And Newcastle, it's a long way to go just before Christmas. Tough test, but like we said the other day, it's one of those where they're missing a key man.
Yeah, Liam Delap, yeah. As I say, I think that's huge for them.
Eddie Howe recognised that as well.
Yeah, he did. He mentioned the absence of Liam Delap through suspension, but also name dropped players like Amari Hutchinson, Sammy Smodics, who
scored against Newcastle.
Had really good championship players. Are still making the step with the Premier League. Hutchinson, I've always liked him every time I've watched him. A really good pacey winger. Smodics was prolific at Blackburn, stepped up, I think scored a couple of goals in the Premier League. So I suppose they've got players there that can cause issues, but Liam Delap was the main man, and to take him out there, I think that they'll lack a real focal point up front. So I think that's massive. And it was interesting anyhow when it was asked about the Luton game last year, where he actually recognised the question when it was, you're pretty much comparing it, where it's like, is Ipswich and Luton banana skin? And I think Eddie Howe actually recognised that, which I thought was interesting. So it shows that he's been thinking what we're thinking, where it feels like it could be one of those, but obviously trying to take precautions or whatever, trying to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Bobby Robson Derby as well,
which
was mentioned to Eddie Howe as well. You like that. But in more pressing news, I guess, the Carabao Cup semi-final draw took place last night, which was where the press conference started more or less this morning at the Newcastle United Media Centre. Newcastle against Arsenal, semi-final, first leg at the Emirates, second leg, St James's Park. What's your reaction to it? Because Eddie Howe was just like, they were all going to be tough games. You probably prefer to have St James's Park in the second leg, but it doesn't make maybe as much difference as we're trying to make out that it does. Because I do think it makes a big difference if you're still in the tie.
I do. I think that's the biggest thing that could have got from the semi-final draws, being at St James's in the second leg. if you had asked me now what my preference would have been to get to Wembley, it probably would have been Spurs, because I watched them against Manchester United, and honestly it was like watching two competition winners in goal. The two goalkeepers were dreadful.
Ex-Newcastle man.
Yeah, Fraser Forster. I don't even know the Manchester United goalkeeper's name. It's some Turkish guy, which I'm not even going to try and butcher his name on this channel. But yeah, I'm watching them two teams yesterday, because Tottenham were so comfortable in the game, and then all of a sudden there's two goalkeeping errors, but they just looked nervous. And I would have fancied Newcastle to put Spurs under pressure. But anyway, of course it's Arsenal. I would avoid anyone but Liverpool over 2 legs, so I didn't want Liverpool over 2 legs. Arsenal is a great tie that shows they can beat them at St James's Park, but the key is that they've got to stay in the game on the away tie, because you don't want to the gap between the semi-finals is pretty much a month.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Can you imagine if they go down there and get battered, and it's like you turn it a month later and it's like,
what we're doing? Yeah,
so just keep yourselves in the game, and I think they've got a chance at St James's. So I think, it's a tough draw, obviously, but
there were always going to be tough draws. My sort of trying to put a positive spin on it is, St James's Park second leg, if you're still in the game, you've beat Arsenal 3 of the last 4 games at St James's Park, there's a chance there. If you're just stubborn and resolute down at the Emirates, you've got half a chance. And the way I'd look at it is, I think in a one-off game in the final at Wembley, Liverpool and Arsenal, you probably get beat. Spurs is more of a flip of a coin.
Yeah.
So avoiding Spurs isn't necessarily a bad thing if they can upset Liverpool in any way. Because a Spurs-Newcastle final, although they're the least likely one, the headlines will be, can both teams lose? Because the two teams starved of trophies. Newcastle, much more extreme example, but it's one of them where I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to avoid Spurs in the semi-final.
I agree. If you get Spurs in the final, you go and fancy your chances. I think anyone fancies the chances against Tottenham. But to be fair, I think everyone now is even building up as an Arsenal-Liverpool final on. So I think I'll go back to Thomas Frank's comments. I think it'll be really nice for a Newcastle-Spurs final, just because it's two teams. Obviously, Spurs have less of a trophy out than Newcastle, but it's still two teams and two supporter bases that are starved of success, if you want to say that, what makes it funny when people say Spurs is a part of the big six, if you like, because they have no right to be there based on...
Leicester City have more of a right.
They do, because won the Premier League.
And an FA Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
And a Community Shield.
Spurs are the outliers in the so-called big six, but yeah, that would be the perfect final, but yeah, it's a big task trying to get past Arsenal with 2 legs, but they can't do it. Honestly, the only one I would be really daunted by was Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because they just can't beat Liverpool at any time, at any place. No. Whereas Arsenal, they can't.
They gave them a really good game at St James's Park a couple of weeks ago.
They played. I'm trying. I was going to
played as good as they've played.
Yeah, and they still only got a 3-3 draw, so it just shows their quality. Arsenal, you can get into their faces up here. It's just about staying solid down there, which they have done before. I remember the season they finished in the top 4, they went down there.
Really stubborn, weren't they?
I say stunk the place out, but in a good way, because they totally paid off the Arsenal fans, just that housery that they became so used to them showing in that season. They need to go down there and do that again.
Yes. So that's in the somewhat distant future. Ipswich is the immediate future, which we've touched on, but in the sort of middling future, transfer window opens in 10 days' time, something like that.
Will Newcastle have a new signing in place to play against Arsenal in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final?
That's the big question, but Eddie Howe basically just went cold water.
Yeah.
Any transfers, there's been reports, Johan Bakayoko, PSV winger, very close to agreeing personal terms with Newcastle. Those are reports from Belgium, which is where he's from, so you take everything with a pinch of salt, but there's obviously some connection there. Eddie Howe went, that's a surprise to me. We are not very close to signing anyone.
He laughed it off, didn't he?
Laughed it off.
So incomings, you mean? And he's like, yeah, I am surprised. Which, we keep going back to January, and it just doesn't sound like not much is going to happen. I asked what happened in January for you to sign a player, and he said everything has to align. And he spoke previously about PSR, and he mentioned it again today with the restrictions that they've got. I just don't see how they go out and sign a big name player.
A lot of people will be asking, well, you had a substantial amount to spend on Mark Gee.
Yeah, which is a fair
Where
question.
Is that money now? But I think Eddie Howe sort of answered it
a few weeks ago.
But he sort of answered it in your question as well, where he said the club has to make transfer decisions that work for the short term and the long term.
Yeah.
And is maybe potentially overspending in January, which is a window where you traditionally do overspend, the best course of action for the club when you can look ahead to the summer and be more sort of thorough in your process and manage that situation a bit better and protect the future financially of the club in that way as well.
Yeah, that he said it a few weeks ago as well, and he's asked about that. I think someone actually asked him, it looked like you had 70 million pound you wouldn't spend the summer. Why can't you spend that in January? And it's because of the knock-on effect in the summer. And realistically, you've got a better chance of getting the players you want in the summer than you do in January, because January is notoriously a very, very difficult window, and transfers have died down over the last couple of years because of PSR restrictions, but the January last year was dead. It was totally dead.
PSR has killed transfers. It's killed the excitement of it as well.
The summer is less dead, but still quite dead based on what we were seeing, the amount of money spent previously. The only time I've really seen Newcastle have signed lots of players in January was on the season they stayed up by Eddie Howe, his first January transfer window, and then there was a season as well on Alan Porgy when they brought in lots of French players. But apart from that, I'm trying to think of when you see a big January deal, and you haven't seen that for a while, and I don't see how that trend stops all of a sudden this next month. I think
it used to be quite exciting, the January transfer window.
It did.
Like, I remember that window. I mean, it wasn't great for Newcastle. Bloody Shefki Kuchi, Charles Nzogby are last minute sort of pursuits. But that deadline day where you have Torres, Andy Carroll moving around, Luis Suarez signed for Liverpool that January. That was from a media perspective. If we were working in the media that time, I think
I was devastated as a Newcastle.
Both children at the time, but that was a great transfer window, and that's died off. That sort of fanfare around transfers is sort of being killed by PSR in a lot of ways, unfortunately.
It has, so
and the need to sell players, which is what we'll get onto with real enthusiasm, because Miggy Almiron linked away, Martin Dubravka heavily linked away, and that was your question about Dubravka. Eddie Howe was also asked about Miggy and gave that sort of
there's a similar one,
the party line of we'll love him. So
he said he doesn't like reading about speculation regarding players. He said that he doesn't like the players saying it either, which there has been a lot this week. I mean, this week it's been about 12 months for Miguel Almiron, isn't it? And then Martin Dubravka came into the picture this week with reports in Saudi Arabia regarding Al Shabab. So you've got two players there who, although Martin Dubravka's in the start 11 at the minute, are on the fringes, if you like. Mm-hmm. And I think if there's an opportunity to sell both of those players in January, I think you've got to take it.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me, because the two players, look, Martin Dubravka, for all his Eddie Howe saying, really, really important, he's starting games. You've got a £20 million goalkeeper, 20 million, but you've got a player who has played goalkeepers. Champions League football. You've got other goalkeepers as well. He's experienced in Odysseus Vlachodimos. Playing him for a few games or whatever before Nick Pope comes back, how is that bad a situation? Because Martin Dubravka, you put the facts together, he's got 6 months left on his contract. He's 36? 35, 36, so he's turning 36 next month. Obviously wants regular first team football. He's spoken openly about it. He's getting that at the moment, but for a very short period, if we're being honest. And if Newcastle have a chance, they're going to lose him on a free in the summer anyway if they don't sell him next month. So if they have a chance just to recoup anything from him, get him off the wage bill, because he won't be on tiny amounts of money. He's been here for a while. I think it's a no-brainer. I think the club have to do it. In the best interests of Newcastle United and Martin Dubravka, that decision has to be made. If there is a deal on the table, which is what the sources in Saudi Arabia would lead us to believe. Although a deal agreed and that he will sign on January 1st, I don't think is what... it's nowhere near as close as that, but there's definite interest there.
No, I think as more people have become more understanding of PSR, I think it's probably changed the way you look at players in your squad. So you look at two fringe players there and Martin Dubravka and Miguel Almiron, and you'd probably go, yeah, I would like to keep them, the good lads that can come in when needed and rotate, whatever. But the PSR on the financial side, just you've got to make more ruthless decisions. I say ruthless, I think that's probably one of the least ruthless decisions they'll probably make, to be honest. But you get what I mean, like they've got to raise funds, and they haven't been good at doing that. They haven't been good at doing that at all in recent years. Hence why they're in a PSR situation now where they find it very, very restrictive to go out and sign new signings. So I think if there's offers there, I think you've got to take
those
them.
Are players where you go, no. If there's something there, you have to take it seriously. You can't afford to be sentimental. It's not in the best interest of Newcastle United at all, or the players, because they're not playing.
I think, as I say, if you look at the players themselves, you probably do keep them around the team, but
as squad players, I think that's
the squad.
It's real.
Yeah. If you didn't have financial pressures, you'd probably just keep them. But the financial pressures now are full on because of PSR, and you need to raise funds. So the offers are there, you have to take them. So that
I'm sick of it. But another question asked Eddie Howe was obviously two players who are out of contract were out of contract in the summer. Sean Longstaff and Fabian Schär both recently passed 200 appearances for the club. Fabian Schär's birthday today. Happy birthday, Fabian Schär.
How old is he?
33.
Oh, he's getting on.
So he's getting on. He's getting on. Sure. But hey, another goal for him. 4 goals for the season. There was a bit of loving for Fabian Schär in the press conference.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Bit of mention, and then I come in with, where is he? Is he still under contract for next season? And Eddie Howe said, we'll give you an update when we get it.
Fabian Schär.
But obviously we want to keep players. And Sean Longstaff, interestingly, again, no official update from him. Newcastle have a clause that can extend to the end of next season, which we understand has been triggered, and Sean Longstaff will be a Newcastle player, or a contracted Newcastle player, until 2026. Whether the club decide to sell him in the meantime is another question, because he is sort of your gold mine in terms of PSR, which I don't like banging on about too much. But Sean Longstaff is another player who I'd say falls into that category where we've seen the emergence of Sandro Tonali being such a key player for Newcastle. Bruno's obviously a key player. You've got Joe Willett, you've got Louis Miley as well as other options. That midfield, if everyone's fit and performing, is quite well stocked. Sean Longstaff, if you've got a player in a PSR world who may be wanting to play more games as well, I think that's another one where extending his deal and actually listening to potential offers is a wise move for all parties.
Yeah, it's a value thing as well. So say you were to extend Sean Longstaff's contract until the end of 2026, then how quickly does his value, if you like, drop? Because as you get closer to running out your contract, naturally the amount of money you command for a player.
Well, some foreign club could go and put a contract on the table for any of these players who are out of contract at the end of the season and sign them for nothing.
I think it's with these things you've got to take a longer term view, which I don't think, as I say, Newcastle have been very good at doing in terms of selling players by holding on to players too long. We've probably seen it in hindsight with Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier, for example. As much as I love both players and they've been excellent, but they've probably held on for them too long. If you're looking at a player like Sean Longstaff, or even this applies to any player on the squad, really is where do you see them being in sort of 12 months' time? Do you see Sean Longstaff being in this team in 12 months' time and still starting games, or you're coming into games every so often? You need to make a decision. If you don't, then you've got to recoup funds. PSR is a nasty game, but they've got to be better at it. They've got to be better at this selling game.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a change in the rules where academy players, clubs aren't incentivised to sell academy players.
Yeah,
they should be incentivised to play them. Maybe.
They should try
and do the opposite. Where if you've got 6 academy players in your squad and they're starting games regularly, that alleviates some sort of PSR punishment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
That balances it out a bit more, where clubs are incentivised to sell but also incentivised to play. There needs to be that sort of middle ground found, I think, because at the moment it's so one-sided and it is silly.
It is silly. I mean, have the incentive to sell academy graduates just stinks, doesn't it? I don't see.
You've brought up a player from a child, you've invested time and effort just so you can go, you'll help us sign some
which is what happened earlier on
from South America or something.
Eddie Anderson, the prime example, it was getting rid of him was for the reasons that they did was shocking, because it was pure profit, as they call it. That's not right. But I mean, we'd sit here all day and rant about the rules, because the rules realistically aren't fit for purpose. But whilst the rules are in place, unfortunately you've got to follow them unless you want to start racking up points deductions. So, and as I say, the frustration is I hate PSR. I think it's a load of crap. But whilst it's there, you have to play the game. Rightly or wrongly, you have to play the game.
Writing about it.
People have probably switched off by this point, as you mentioned the word PSR. Just stinks. It's
terrible.
Yeah, it's had such a negative effect over the last couple of years, where it's just proper slowed Newcastle down. And I think for us, certainly I'd speak for myself, I probably didn't start to grasp the severity of PSR probably till the last 12 months. Maybe a little bit earlier than that. And I think a lot of other people have clocked on.
It was the Darren Eales.
That was probably when it started.
Conference we had, the little Zoom call with him, where he just sort of chucked hand grenades into the room or into the Zoom call, where it was like, we're going to have to sell big players. Every player has a price, and I think that's had just a knock-on effect on the club as a whole. Big knock-on effect. So, in terms of, we'll go back, bring it back to the press conference.
It's been a bit. The structure of this video has been
a bit more positive, because another player who spoke about Fabian Schär getting a lot of love in the press conference. Another player, understandably getting a lot of love, was Sandro Tonali, because great performance from him on Wednesday night. He's found his home in that number 6 role. Eddie Howe was keen to recognise Sandro Tonali is maybe not a player who is too up and down. He's quite stoic. He's quite not unemotional, but he just gets on with it, and being a really important player, or has the ability to be such an important player for Newcastle United, and we've seen that the past month or so.
I think Eddie Howe made the point that he's really, really level-headed.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah,
I mean, you think he got asked the question. I mean, how's he been since Wednesday night? You know, his big night at St James Park. It sounds like he's been the same. Yeah. Which, it's incredible to think, because he must have some mentality and mindset to be able to. Because he's went, like, the last 12 months must have been really, really difficult for Sandro Tonali. A lot of dark moments, dark days, just all dark. Very, very dark.
Dark hair.
But I think, we're hopefully, I say this isn't wood, but touch wood, we're starting to see.
You like Eddie Howe, he likes touching wood.
He does, yeah. Does he touch this?
Maybe his head.
But hopefully we're starting to see exactly why Newcastle have invested so much money in Sandro Tonali. I think the last few performances have been real positive signs, and you're right, he's found a total home in that number 6, and long may it continue, because him in that number 6 role, he almost becomes like a main function of the team, and I do wonder if he thrives off that, whereas previously he's like a number 8.
He looked a bit lost sometimes, didn't he?
Yeah.
While he had the quality when he was on the ball, there was sometimes just a little bit erratic, maybe. He was up or down, whereas here it's much more controlled, Sandro Tonali.
He's at the heart of the team, and I do wonder if he's a player that thrives with that, because you think about, you go back to AC Milan, he was the main man at AC Milan, he was their poster boy. And then he's went away with Italy, and you've got the Italian manager waxing absolute lyricals about him and how influential he's been coming back into the Italian setup. So I do wonder, him being given that sort of central role in Newcastle's team, he's really took to it, and that's why we're starting to see some really improved displays from really excellent displays, I should say.
High quality,
but
improved as well. Yeah. So good to see. Good bond forming with Bruno as well, which Eddie Howe said they've always been close and good friends, but it's nice to finally see that relationship really thrive on the pitch, because Sandro Tonali is amongst the goals, which Eddie Howe said is a bonus, but Bruno as the number 8, which I've said in a previous video. I mean, he got an assist the other day, he got a goal.
Yeah.
The other day against Leicester, he got 2 assists in the Liverpool game. So we're seeing the best out of Bruno, the best out of Tonali. The balance is really good. The feeling around the club is a lot more positive heading into this Ipswich game. But let's hope that continues. Let's hope we're heading into Christmas with that positivity, and we're going into the Boxing Day game back at St James's Park. Big game against Aston Villa, who are a direct rival of Newcastle in the Premier League in terms of where the ambitions are and what they want to achieve. So, yeah, big run of games coming up. I think it's 9 games between now and the start of February. So, busy schedule. Eddie Howe said that takes his focus rather than transfers, which is fair enough. But yeah, we'll have it covered every step of the way. Get what we can on the transfers as well, the press conferences, every press conference, every game, Carabao Cup, semi-finals, FA Cup against the mighty Bromley, and yeah, we'll be at Ipswich Town, Portman Road tomorrow. But for now, Jordan, T's and C's, of course, every Geordie Journo's video is sponsored by Four Rivers Financial Planning for all of your holistic financial and pension needs. And of course, our new sponsors that we mention every video now, Mitigate.
Mitigate transforms workplace mental health, mitigating legal risks, reducing absenteeism and boosting productivity, delivering up to £9 ROI per £1 invested. Book your free demo today.
Yes, that's Mitigate and Four Rivers Financial Planning. Links will be in the description for them. And of course, if you like what we do here on the Geordie Journos, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe and ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journos content and to stay up to date with our thoughts, our feelings on Newcastle United. We don't go that deep. Newcastle tomorrow, and we'll see you there.